Beautiful Saturday morning. Welcome to the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. Well, when I prepare for this program, I'm usually now at a loss as to what is the most trending issue to talk about. And that's because just before the dust generated by one issue settles, then of course you have several of them, that are happening almost at the same time. But today on the show, we'll begin our conversation on the state of the nation, particularly with some of the recent happenings at the National Assembly. That seems to be the hotbed of issues in this country. But let's quickly meet our panelists. From my extreme left, let me appreciate the presence of Associate Professor of Law, Dr. F.O. Usadolo. Prof, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We also have with us a frontline civil society activist, Executive Director, Foundation for Good Governance and Social Change, Comrade Austin Usakwe. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Morning viewers and listeners on radio.
We have a former commissioner, two-time commissioner in Edo State, a lawyer by training. I'd like to thank very especially Barrister Washington Osifo.
Many thanks for having me.
I have with us another civil society activist, Executive Director for Canvassers for Democracy and Rule of Law, Reverend Olu Martins. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's begin with the summons that have been served on President Muhammadu Buhari by the National Assembly. Of course, it was the House of Representatives that started it, and then when the story about further attacks in different parts of the country came forth, the Senate joined in the summon to President Muhammadu Buhari. First, it was the summon to the IGP, who eventually we gather didn't show up, and so they have moved the appearance before the National Assembly to next week, Wednesday. And then another issue came out, which of course is also involving our own senator. That will come up in the course of the conversation. But let's get started with Associate Professor of Law, Faith Osadolo. The summon by the National Assembly, first to the IGP and then to President Muhammadu Buhari. What are your thoughts? What are your views?
Yeah, my views are in tandem with that of the National Assembly. We operate a constitutional democracy, and the primary responsibility of government is to ensure the security, the safety of life and properties. And right now in Nigeria, we have cases that gravitate towards the direction that there's no longer security of life and properties in Nigeria. We have people being killed daily, whereas we have a government in place, whereas we have security agencies in place. We have the head of these security agencies, and they tell us they are always on top of the situation. And we get reports every day that people are being killed as if we are in a state of war, and some persons are not being defended at all. And you recall that recently we got the call from our respected T.Y. Danjuma that people should now defend themselves, which is in tandem with the state of the law anyway. But what we hear from Benin and some other states in this country, even in those states, is that persons pick up their guns, shoot the faceless citizens, and they are killed. Nothing happens. So it is responsible for the National Assembly, therefore, to call on those responsible for the security of our lives and properties to come and explain to the National Assembly, as an organ of government, what is happening to the security of our people in Nigeria. I think they have done well. They should be commended. And the president has a duty, because we are talking about good governance. How do you preside over a nation where people are being killed, where life and properties are no longer safe? So you should go and explain. Should let them know the state of the nation as per security. Okay. And perhaps they can also strategize with him on how to improve the state of security of Nigeria.
Okay. Comrade Austin Osakwe, in your opinion, is this part of the process of solution to the endless and incessant attacks by headsmen and what have you in the country? Will this lead us anywhere ultimately?
I must say that every Nigerian is concerned about the apparent near breakdown of law and order in several parts of the country, particularly the middle belt of states. So the National Assembly is an aggregation of representatives of the people of Nigeria. Their voice ought to be the voice of the people. And if, as you can find, whether in the mainstream media, in the social media, in seminars, in workshops, in one-to-one engagements, the topic, the trending topic on the lips of Nigerians is how do we restore some level of sanity and security? How do we ensure that we can sleep with both eyes closed? Unfortunately, and we must accept that as Nigerians, that the security apparatus does not seem to have gotten it right in spite of our cries. Whether it is the Nigerian police force from state to state, whether it is the military that got involved in trying to salvage the situation, accusing fingers have been pointed and statements have been made to that effect, that there appears to be some lopsidedness, some selectivity in the application of sanctions. The impression has been given that it would appear that security agencies are running with the head and hunting with the hand. I think that it is this background that paved way for the National Assembly to begin to call, if you like, someone to address the representatives of the people on the steps being taken. Ideally, sir, engagement between the executive and the National Assembly ought to be regular. This is the norm. I know, for instance, that the president can go to the National Assembly to give a State of the Nation address because he recognizes that he may not be able to reach out to every community. But those who constitute the National Assembly are actually representatives of all of these communities in Nigeria. So when he goes to share with them, it's also an opportunity for them to make inputs, because no man is an island. No man has a monopoly of understanding, of knowledge, of wisdom. So this is the way it ought to be. I think that the National Assembly members have also gotten frustrated, the same way Nigerians have been utterly frustrated. But of course, in Nigeria, everything that happens is political. So we tend to now situate it in the realm of politics. Those in government and those in opposition. Okay. Do they want to humiliate the president? Okay. Do they want to further give the impression that he's not in control? Yeah. It is not in the interest of anybody that the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces be belittled. It is not in our interest. It is like a home where the children give the impression that their father is no longer up to this situation. It is a disgrace to them when they go out. The same way we must regard the office of Mr. President. So, for the National Assembly to call on him and indeed call on the IG to appear and enlighten them on the steps so far taken, to also inform them if there are difficulties where they can come in, I think this is the way to look at it. Okay. Let me proceed. I also hope that it is not grandstanding. Okay. My father once told me that
you need to interpret that.
Well, let me try.
Okay.
A battle you know you will not win in the end, there is no need to begin it.
Okay, let me push you there.
Therefore, the National Assembly must show to Nigerians.
This is not grandstanding.
Exactly. That having taken that step, they are willing to follow it up to the very end.
All right, Barrister Washington, is this grandstanding on the part of the National Assembly? Is this politics or politics showing forth again?
Well, let me start by taking an excerpt from what our elder brother just mentioned. He said the meeting between the National Assembly and the executive ought to be a regular thing. From that angle, I want to say that I'm particularly surprised that this is even making a headline. What is the hue and cry in an arm of government inviting the head of government to come and speak to issues? That is constitutionally, that's how it ought to be. If they are playing their constitutional role and the executive is not against it, then what is the issue particularly with media. You know, I always put media in certain issues.
Yes.
You know, there are things that are far more important. The underlying issue should be issue of security. That the president was invited to speak with his colleagues, to speak with fellow countrymen. For me, it is not an issue. It is not an issue.
Okay.
Now, talking about the issue of grandstanding, yes, you will look at it from the angle of grandstanding. If only you think that they do not have, you know, any good reason to invite him. You know, for me, I think it is not an issue of the president. It is not also an issue of the National Assembly. It is an issue, you know, that bedevils all of us as a people. Therefore, there should be, don't look at it from the angle of this is winner and this is loser. It is not a ring that they are creating. It is a genuine effort to seek the knowledge or tap from the knowledge of another, such that we can both put everything in the same pot, cook it, make it beautiful, that all of us one day soon can sleep with 2 eyes closed. So I want to look at it from that angle, and I want to say there is no problem, there are no issues as to inviting the president or whatever. But as for the Inspector General of Police, I think I'm beginning to have my issues with him. You know, because the National Assembly is an institution, and it is so empowered by the Constitution to do what it's doing, including by reason of this oversight function, inviting the head of security apparatus like the police. Now the question is, when you conduct yourself in a manner that suggests that you do not have respect for that authority, then you are disrespecting all of us. You are also sending a message that perhaps, yes, you know what is happening, but you are not bothered.
Okay.
Then you cannot begin to ask you what bothers you therefore. Yeah. I have said it times that number here, that when you are given a public assignment for which you receive salary at the end of the month, if you have conscience, what you should do is you must be able to open a page every month to score yourself. If you have done what you ought to do, for which reason you are paid salary, then you have done a job, you earn it. Yeah. If you have not, then you are a thief. That is the definition of a thief, I've told you.
Okay.
Now, the way I look at it is very simple. Whether he was called in the wake of what happened between a colleague senator, Dino, and they wanted him to speak to some of these issues, and perhaps the second supplementary reason was the issue that borders on the nation. That is a different thing altogether. You can speak to issues, but again, I also want to advise the National Assembly. You know, no one senator is bigger than
the other.
Not the other. Okay. No, all of us. If you represent the people, they belongs to the people. Absolutely. You are there
from the US
at our
government.
own interest. For the representative definition, that's the reason why you are there. All of us cannot be there. We who have so chosen, we have delegated our rights, our privileges to give to you to go and represent us. Whatever you do, what must be uppermost in your heart, in your consciousness, is that you are here instead of the people. Therefore, why must it be one senator, a colleague of yours, is touched? That is when you want to invite the IG. Do you know how many Nigerians are touched in the same way? Every day we speak of equality. Yeah. But when we act, then you can see.
Well, let me proceed by Washington to Sifu. Olu Martins. In looking at this issue, we can bring out a very thorny one, which has to do with the purchase of arms by the executive, which the National Assembly has also condemned in strong terms. To a large extent, that seems to have pitched the National Assembly against the executive. From the National Executive Council meeting, they supported the president for purchasing those arms, which they said will go a long way to help to stem the ugly tide of the security situation in the country. Can you build on that?
Thank you very much again for the opportunity to speak truth to power. And if I lift up from your preamble, just yesterday I go buy a movie to watch to kill time or some boredom. And I remember that I don't watch for a while. And I wondered why I said there's even no need to watch a movie, because what happens on a daily basis in Nigeria, the theatrics, the drama, there's no, just sit with your television every day. That is enough entertainment. The only problem is that entertainment sometimes gears towards agitation. Because you're agitated, because you're wanting to say, look, the people for which we have bestowed power upon, you're wondering, do they know what they are doing? Because when I heard about it, for instance, first of all, let me say that, like Austin said, there's no big deal about inviting the president. The designers of this architectural masterpiece, as it stands today, is called democracy. Design it in such a way that the boss, or a local palace, the organ of the president is the National Assembly. So you see a group of people who are the boss of one individual. So it creates for checks and balances. And that's why they say that the executive is the most influential. The legislature is the most powerful, and then the judiciary the most independent. I think that what's the hue and cry is because this president is not a communicating president. That's why the hue and cry is there. This president doesn't see the need as an individual to constantly interface with the people. The times we hear from the president, unfortunately, are the times he leaves the shores of this function. He doesn't talk to us as a people, even when they are very weighty issues. The best we hear are from his aides, either the Minister of Information, the SSA, Shehu Gamba, or the special advisor on media and publicity. But as a president, he has not found one major issue. We expect that on a monthly basis, at the least, the president of a country, or at least every quarter, should see a need to talk to the people, especially when they have burning issues in Nigeria. But we create the impression that the loss of a life does not matter, in spite of the things that have happened. Do not build on that. We hear that the president goes to withdraw $490-something million to buy jet fighters that will be delivered in 2020 for an ongoing Boko Haram, for an ongoing fight against terrorism. And then, unfortunately, is that when you name these airplanes, you have forgotten that we're in the information age, where we can pick our phones and look at the cost of these airplanes. These airplanes in question are manufactured in Brazil. And the cost per unit, if you total it from what we say we are taking delivery of, is about half of the cost. But that is the horse of a different color. The challenge is that the president can dip hands into a common purse, a common patrimony, and withdraw money that is not appropriated for. To say that that is a slap on Nigerians' face, it is a bother. The question you ask, doesn't the president know the constitutional procedure of such things? And then when somebody comes and says it is an impeachable offense, it doesn't mean that they want to impeach the president. They are not saying they're not offense, and true to it, it is an impeachable offense. So, on the one hand, the president doesn't have a choice to go and answer the summon by the National Assembly. Look at what the conference of bishops, of the Catholic Church has just said. They have asked for the president to tender resignation based on his seeming inability to curb this spate of killings, in Nigeria. So I think that it's a wake-up call.
Okay.
This is a delegated democracy, okay. And the National Assembly members hold power in trust for the majority, of all of us. I'm worried about the pattern of this president. It doesn't seem, to be responsive to the things that are happening in Nigeria. It doesn't seem to show some sensitivity as to the state of insecurity and the very many Nigerians that I feel, across board.
Okay, I'll come to you, Comrade Austin Osakwe. In a moment, I'll be with you, Dr. Sadolo. Comrade, yeah, the purchase of this equipment has been a thorny issue. I mean, the very distinguished Senator Matthew Okide was said to have made that statement on the floor of the House that this is an impeachable offense, by Mr. President. But even though we know the President has since made a request to the National Assembly on this matter, is that not supposed to be enough to just end this matter? And then, of course, look at the backlash at the Benin Airport yesterday. We'll be seeing that clip in a moment of what transpired, where we had supporters and opposition clashing over this issue. Yes, Austin.
For me, this is a very simple matter. It's, I had hoped we were not going to discuss this today. I like to maintain my calm when I'm before elders like this. Look at Olumotin, the way he's dressed, like an oppressor. Can you imagine? I not also discuss it, I don't want 10 pastors. If it is true that Mr. President made a request, and before that request was even considered, let alone granted, he went ahead on a frolic of his own to spend a whopping $500 million. $500 million to purchase jets. Then, when they say it's an impeachable offense, the people who should know have said so. They are the custodians. They are the ones who make laws. If they say it's an impeachable offense, the rest of us can only look at the transaction that has taken place. And what is this transaction? Don't forget that long ago, late last year, Mr. President had also told his governors and some other party members when they were gathered that he was going to collect $1 billion. I want to use the word collect because his action doesn't go towards any other thing apart from collecting. As they will say on the street, obtaining. He said so late last year. And that request was poo-pooed. That suggestion was poo-pooed across the country. And there appeared to be a law. And I felt that that matter was over. Perhaps he saw the need again to spend some money. So he again mentioned, I think this time around, like you said, a request. But while we were still debating that request, the next thing we heard was that the president has actually spent $500 million. And I keep saying that. I say $500 million because what that translates to is $500 million naira every day. That's what it translates to. $500 million naira every day at about 360 plus of naira to $1 to purchase jets. The president is well within his rights as the head of the executive to spend money on security, but he must do so strictly in accordance with the law. The money he is to spend must be the one appropriated for the purpose for which he will spend it. Otherwise, what he has done is to jettison the National Assembly from our democratic equation. Number two, Olumotin is a man of figures. He plays with his, he's like Donald Trump, they Google a lot. I'm a village man and an orphan. So I believe him that there is a comparison between the costs allegedly posited by the president and his team and the cost applicable elsewhere. Even if we didn't know this, we are searching for why Mr. President can bypass the National Assembly and dip money and go and spend without appropriation. And then somebody tells us they actually spent 100% higher than what actually. So it's like a witch flew yesterday, small pikin died this morning, and we are looking for who killed small pikin. Number two, sir, the president can yet show. He has a team of lawyers with him. There is the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. He has several other eggheads around him. He can yet show to Nigerians that the National Assembly is a busybody on this matter. How does he show that? By pointing to somewhere in our law that says, for this particular matter of going to buy jets for the purpose of guaranteeing security of lives and property, I don't need to go through the National Assembly. If he does that, this matter quietens down. I will be the first to defend Mr. President. But where he cannot show in the law of this country, particularly in the ground of the Constitution, that he has powers to go behind the National Assembly, collect money and spend ostensibly on our behalf, then let me say again, that is an impeachable offense.
Okay, that's in tandem with what Senator Matthew Urhoghide said at the Senate. But on the screen now, you just have an insight into what transpired yesterday at the Benin Airport when the senator landed. We had the pro and, of course, the foe, converting there, probably, setting that place into a crisis situation. But let me get Professor Sadolo's thoughts on this aspect of the discussion.
I think it is quite elementary. Section 143 of the Constitution. I have said before that Nigeria operates a constitutional democracy. When a president comes to power, the president takes the oath of allegiance and oath of office. Upon that oath, the president swears to defend and protect the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is the ground norm. So when President Buhari came to power, he took that oath of office and oath of allegiance to defend and protect the Constitution. And Section 143, subsection 11, defines the meaning of a misconduct. That misconduct means if the president or vice president, they breach the provisions of the Constitution upon which they are sworn to defend, or any act in the opinion of the National Assembly that is a misconduct. In this case, from the letter written by the presidency, it is clear that there was no prior approval from the National Assembly before the money was pulled out and spent. And that is a violent violation of the Constitution. So there's nothing like even in the matter of Senator Urhoghide to say it's a misconduct. The Constitution has said that the president committed a misconduct. And to that extent, that misconduct becomes an impeachable offense. So if Senator Urhoghide moved a motion for the impeachment of the president, he only did the obvious. He only did that which is mandated by the Constitution to do. So for our people to say, what he did was wrong and all, it does not lie in their mouths.
Not our people.
No, some people came out yesterday perhaps they are from Edo State too. There are people, they are brothers and they are sisters. They should be educated on the matter. It is the issue of constitutionalism. There's a constitution for this country. It is the ground norm. It is the constitution that guide what the executive should do, what the legislature should do, what the judiciary should do. So whoever breaches or infringes on the Constitution has violated the Constitution. And to that extent, if the person that has infringed on the Constitution is the president or the vice president, Section 143.11 has defined it as a misconduct. And to that extent, it is impeachable. And the procedure lined up for impeachment, they are all copiously encapsulated in Section 143 of the Constitution. So that a motion has been moved. This is the very first step. There are so many other steps. The president himself has admitted that he breached the Constitution. So what are we talking about?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Professor Sadolo. Barrister Washington Osifo, the National Executive Council, arising from the meeting earlier this week, said because of the very dicey nature of the security situation in the country, I mean, that was the basis for which the approval was given, so that the military, the security agencies will be well equipped to be able to tackle security. Isn't that enough justification for this action by Mr. President?
Well, I think there's a conflict between what is necessary and what should be done, and all of that. What is required and what is necessary. This is the conflict here. What is required, of course, stated already in the Constitution. And what is necessary, of course, what is required gives birth to what is necessary. And you cannot separate them. They are like Siamese twins. At some point in governance, even at some point in our regular life, you find out that this conflict, it puts you at loggerhead, and you have to take a very swift decision. And in between them, time is always of the essence. It's like a panic button. If you don't press it now, then you have wasted time. Now, I have followed the debate. And it's been very, very interesting, I must confess. But again, the reason why we are also making this hue and cry is because democracy itself is suspect. It's been made suspect. Particularly this theatre is actually coming from the National Assembly. there's been a lot of reckless profligacy, recently coming from the National Assembly, and that anything that is coming from there creates this hue and cry, which ought not to be in the democratic process. And you see, the president, for me, like the erudite law teacher said, he has not grandstanded. He has not claimed any right as far as his action is concerned. He has only tried to explain the reason why he did what he did. And let it be clear to Nigerians that the president that we all know, irrespective of our political leaning, he may not be too frequent in talking to the people, but I think he too has said that it is not talking to the people all the time that matter, it is getting the result and all of that, anyhow you do it. And he has said that he did what he did because he was also very time conscious. The American government, he said it was a transaction between the Nigerian government and the American government. And the payment was made directly to the American government, who were supposed to produce and supply these 12 Tucano jet fighter. And in the process of doing that, he also reminded us that this government didn't start this negotiation. This negotiation started with the previous government. But the American president never wanted to deal on this transaction. But what they did was, when he got the nod and the go-ahead from them and all of that, then they also gave limited time to make that payment. Otherwise, you forfeit it. And looking at, like you said, the danger posed to our lives and our properties by this incessant killing and whatever, and this Boko Haram issue, and even every part of Nigeria, he needed to do something, and he did what he did. Now, he has not claimed to before anybody that he did the right thing, but he has said he did it on national interest. And he said he gave anticipatory approval, believing that if we all truly know and we are committed to what is bedeviling of these security issues, therefore, on issues of purchasing things to fight against this menace that is hurting all of us, it should be a common consensus by all of us. Now, let me also use this medium to say that, yes, I believe in my elder brother, we are all villagers. And our brother here is a statistician. But I think for once he has gotten it wrong. Let me now educate him, and by extension also inform our brother here, that my law teacher will agree with me. You see, you will be making a very huge error when you speak from emotion without seeing the documents from which you are supposed to be talking from. A contract contains several other issues that may not necessarily be before all of us here. And I beg to tell our brother here, let me supply him some of this information. You see, the Tucano jet is true. The price of producing one is far less than the average that they gave there. But in the body of that contract, there is training, there is supply of ammunition for X number of years. Everything totally, what is some of it. Now, what would be the use of procuring a jet without ammunition? In most cases, the ammunitions are way over time too expensive than the jet itself. So, you see, it is the spare parts. Spare parts is part of it. Servicing is part of it. Training is part of it. Ammunition is part of it for a number of years. So they are loaded in the contract. Okay. And that is exactly what we are talking about. Okay. The way you spoke, it looks like you were part of the team that designed the contract and maybe signed it. It was the legal team. Yes, I'm part of the legal team. But that's on the lighter side. Of course. That's on the lighter. Just hold on, gentlemen. That's on the lighter side. It's on the lighter side. The most critical aspect of this discussion now is the reactions and the counter-reactions that have trailed the motion moved by Senator Matthew Urhoghide. Let's take a look at this clip of what happened at the Benin Airport yesterday. Our reporter, of course, Rugged Doggett, Best Mbere, just had to damn all the consequences and made up her mind she was going to get the report in spite of the threats and all the other things that transpired. But you see it for yourself. We'll be back to talk more along those lines.
There is an uneasy calm here at the Benin Airport as different groups have stormed this airport, either in support or against the motion moved by the senator representing Edo South Senatorial District, Senator Pharmacist Matthew of anti-Urohide who are here to condemn the motion in which he had called for the impeachment of President Muhammadu Buhari. And this way are hundreds of supporters drawn from across the state who are here in solidarity with Senator Matthew Urohide. For them, they believe that Urohide is a worthy son who has represented the people of Edo South Senatorial District more effectively than they ever imagined. Between 3 and 4 o'clock in the evening, the atmosphere at the Benin Airport this Friday was peaceful as the supporters of the APC stood at a distance from those of the PDP while chanting solidarity songs. However, the situation soon changed when the Edo State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Johnson Kokumo, arrived at the airport. On citing the police commissioner, the APC supporters left the position they were and clashed with the PDP supporters, chanting songs that observers described as inciting, which also moved the PDP supporters to retaliate with solidarity song. The police commissioner was, however, forced to call for reinforcement as more policemen stormed the airport, while both supporters were moved to far distance within the airport premises to avoid breakdown of law and order. But there was, however, a twist when the aircraft conveying the senator representing Edo South Senatorial District, Senator Matthew Urohide, touched down at the Benin Airport. While the senator was granting interview to clear the air on the said motion, the police allegedly went to sleep, allowing the APC supporters access to the senator while chanting solidarity songs, just as the PDP youth leader, Actor Thaddeus Irabo, received the beating of his life. The senator was, however, whisked into the VIP lodge to avoid further embarrassment. Despite the unfriendly environment, Senator Matthew Urohide said he will not be intimidated by those he described as sponsored youths.
And we're not saying it with these ignorant youths that are equally misled by ignorant persons. It's unfortunate. I'm very proud to be a senator of public South.
The last is yet to be heard on the matter, as at the time of this report, as it was gathered that the senator was humiliated while the police commissioner watched helplessly. Best Mbiere reporting.
Mbiere, as usual, as always spontaneous. Thank you for that report. Well, Reverend Martins, you watched the clip, you watched the video, you saw. Does this, is this sending us a message for 2019? Yeah.
Let me first of all appreciate your reporter, Best Mbiere, for the courage to get into that fisticuff. Me, I don't separate fights. I will watch from a distance and tell you, please stop fighting. I don't have. But I mean, she got in the midst of that crossfire. To that extent, we must appreciate her courage. Clearly, it's that what has happened is political. But if you allow me a minute, when you buy a car, part of what comes with the car is that it has 3 years warranty for 100 kilometers. That's a car of probably like 5 million. How much less a jet that is a Tucano jet is a fighter jet. Fighter jets don't come They don't come stripped of their weapons. They come, the weapon is part of the cost of the jets. Because I have some levels of proficiency in weapon. You can Google these things. They are part of it. And then the servicing, there is an amount of car that you buy. If the car has a problem within this service, they will give you 10 servicings for that car because you bought the car. It's 15 million above. 10 free services, including oil and everything. That is a car. How much less a truck? So to say that the price of the jet is far above. And when you go, they say they can make the jet for X price. It includes delivery, and the people who made the jet are making profit at that price. So when you now do it at a much higher price, I tell you that is where they should have taken to the National Assembly, so that at least the processes of procurement can be interrogated. They are not secrets anymore, but that is by the wayside. What I saw, it is political, and like. Professor Sedalese and Austin also said, to the extent that the chairman of appropriation, Senator Matthew Reid, has made a statement that what Mr. President did is impeachable. To that extent, I stand with him because he doesn't need to say it. The Constitution has already, said it. To that extent, I stand with Matthew Reid to that extent. But if I take a cue from what the former commissioner said, emergencies does not justify wrongdoing. I remember a church in Port Harcourt who had ordered for a tent. When the tent came in, they had asked that by the next Sunday, service was going to take place in the new location. When they got there, the men of customs said they should pay XYZ amount as gratis. And they said they were not going to pay. Next week Sunday was there. For 6 months, they were under the sun. Under the rain, because they were not, emergency does not justify. We will not go on procedural simply because we do not want to worship under the sun. And Mr. President needs to be told that in the face of emergency, at any rate, the killings didn't start today, they have been on. Not be today they break. What is now the emergency? It is called democracy and the rule of law. It's not like what Abraham did with the Bible. Because you want to have a son, you enter into Hagar, your wife. It doesn't make it, right. Okay. What the president has done in the face of any emergency, it is wrong, and it remains an impeachable. And like he said, the processes of impeachment are there. So what our boys are doing is an effort. It shows the level of joblessness, the level of idleness for young people, and they look at the way the police handle it.
Our studio line is open 052-290-573. That's the studio number. Dial it and let's get your take on the discussions today on politics today. Barrister Washington Osifo.
Yes.
Yeah. On the fisticuff that we saw at the airport over the seeming differences in views expressed on this impeachment motion. Yeah.
Well, for me, I will always condemn what is not decent. Yes, the actions there, the truth are highly indecent, and I think it's something that should be discouraged by any reasonable person. Okay. I think there are. You see, this is democracy. There are legal ways of dealing with issues. I'm a lawyer, and I will not encourage anything. And first, not necessarily because I'm a lawyer, I'm a Christian. Okay. I'm a man of peace. Okay. And I think that people should learn to do the right thing and do it well. I want to condemn it. The airport is a public property. Okay. People shouldn't be able to gain unnecessary access, unwanted access to it, to purposes like that.
Okay, let's take our first call. Hello, caller, good morning. Hello, caller, good morning.
A very good morning, Mr. Soniju.
Yes, good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, my name is St. Peter Erekose, and I'm calling from Ubowo area in Benin City.
Yeah, just go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, very briefly and most dispassionately, I want to comment on the summon of the President and the IG by the Senate. Okay. And also the call for impeachment of the President by distinguished Senator Matthew Reid. The basic function of government is to provide basic amenities as well as fundamentally protect the lives and properties of Nigerians. Basically, government is here to get investment in Nigeria. The present administration came in on a matter of change, and this present party should be in strict compliance and obedience to the rule of law. The Honorable Senate enticed the President, it does not show up. What do you expect when the IG is invited? It follows the lead. The children is a locutor. The IG is merely following the footsteps of his master. Upon the tools and equipment that have been purchased throughout this time, there are more security challenges. The president needs to rejig the security head, with special emphasis on separation of power and the rule of law in a political and democratic Dubai. The solely, single-handedly and authoritatively appropriation of funds by the president, thereby usurping the duties and functions of the government, is an impeachable offense. Section 143 sub-11 gives credence to this fact. That is the essence of check and balance, and I commend distinguished Senator Matthew Okide for being bold and rising above the tide. The action of Mr. President in ascribing to himself the duties of the Parliament and appropriating funds without parliamentary approval is akin to political radicality, and it offends the spirit and letters of the Constitution.
Okay.
With regards to executive power of the President.
Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for your thoughts. Comrade Austin Osakwe. Yeah.
No matter, irrespective of what happened yesterday at the airport, in my own opinion, history, posterity, will record Senator Matthew Urowide on the positive side. I think he should just relax himself, because the question is clear. The statement he made on the floor of the Senate, was he within his constitutional right to so do? Answer is yes. In the substance of the statement that he made, was it only true or only false? As we have discovered here, it was only true. Politics is politics. So those who are playing politics can play politics. But eventually, when the history is being written, his name will be recorded as somebody who saw an opportunity to stand on the side of the people, and he did it. Let me say this, sir, by way of advice. The issue of jets has been exhaustively discussed. They should tell Mr. President that instead of spending $500 million to buy jets that will be delivered in 2020, the first thing he ought to do is to gear up his security apparatus to tackle the herdsmen crisis. Boko Haram, we don't know them, but the herdsmen are all over the place. From village to village, from community to community, is raping, maiming, killings, and destruction of crops. This one does not require jet fighters. What it requires is for the law to apply. What it requires is that when herdsmen are arrested for an offense, they should also be prosecuted, not handled with kid gloves. And then the victims are the ones who are kept behind bars. That's what Mr. President needs to do.
Okay, let's take this call.
And those...
Let's take this call. Hello, caller. Good morning. Yes, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, my name is Daniel. I'm calling from Benin.
Daniel, go ahead.
Yes, I like the direction the discourse has gone. Looking at the issue for what it is and not just trying to politicize or try to be partisan. Okay. I really commend them for that. But to the best of my knowledge, I know that what the president has done is very wrong if it's not in the constitution what he did. But let's look at it from the direction of the National Assembly. I don't know why there hasn't been any provision for emergency cases like this. If there is an emergency, and with if they are going to make that kind of provision, then they should spell out what emergency is, so that there's no kind of confusion to what that is. We are just looking at the president. The president, to me, he makes any mistake, he is vulnerable, and next thing, impeachment is sounding. But when the National Assembly make mistakes and do things that are not really palatable, what kind of punishment do they go through? Because this is a National Assembly that has not refused to pass the 2018 appropriation bill that the executive has sent to them since last year. And now the president as a person, knowing the kind of National Assembly we have, would not even want to give these people time to waste time on the matter. Okay. You know, this security issue, we see people are dying every day. Yeah. We'll give it to the National Assembly to waste time, pass them to go round and round on the issue and not be able to do what they are doing.
Okay, thank you, caller. Thank you, caller. Our time is fast spent on the program, but let me get Professor Sadolo's thoughts on the drama at the Benin Airport.
Then, let me clear the hair on the issue of emergency. Because I thought that ignorance at this stage should be wiped out. Even after the executive meeting, the so-called meeting that was held in Abuja, one of the governors told us that it was an emergency, it was the exigency of the time and all of that. I was ashamed when I heard that from him. Because if the draftsman of the Constitution intended that money could be withdrawn from the purse of this country in an emergency, they would have so stated it in Section 80. What is clear is that before money is put from such account, especially the ECA account, there must be approval from the National Assembly. And at that stage, all issues should be interrogated. These issues of, the equipment, the ammunition, and all of that. All the issues would have been ventilated, and the National Assembly would know why they are approving what. But on this occasion, money was withdrawn without approval. That is a clear case. He has admitted to it. And there is no creation of emergency in the Constitution. And the Constitution is supreme, is the ground norm. So to that extent, an impeachable offense has been committed. In addition to committing Senator Ororide for that motion that he moved, we must ask the National Assembly to take the appropriate steps pursuant to Section 143. If at the end of the day, the steps are not concluded, there will be no impeachment. If these steps are concluded, the Constitution also says that the proceedings of impeachment, whatever step that is taken by way of impeachment, cannot be questioned by any court. This is Section 143. The Chief Justice of Nigeria has a duty at a stage to set up a panel of 7 to look into it, to determine the authenticity of the allegations. So, whether they are carrying placards or not, people should inquire into why the motion was moved. Was it right? If it was right, what are the steps to be taken?
Okay. All right. Period. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Our time is up on the program, Politics Today. But just one more call. Hello, caller. Good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning.
All right, Bishop from Sabugida. Please go ahead.
I greet all of you there.
Thank you.
My concern really is about the demonstration by the youth. It goes to show that the Nigerian youth do not seem to have very good future. I can fathom a situation whereby a statement is being made on the floor of the National Assembly. Then the youth now try to gather themselves for one reason or the other and to start causing mayhem. To me, it is very, very poor. And I will please appeal to those who are sponsoring this youth to desist from this dastardly act. It does not portray Nigeria in a very good light. Thank you. God bless all of you.
All right, thank you very much.
Just to mention, sir, that in the clip that we watched, we saw the Commissioner of Police with an array of policemen. I am wondering what role the police played there. If a group of people could pounce on an individual and begin to beat him up right there. So why the policemen were standing inside? I like to have.
But I heard Best say, I mean, the police commissioner but he called for backup.
Yet he was helpless. He called for backup. That's I want to give.
Yes.
Is that the country is for all of us.
Okay.
Look at my brother here as a party man. But has he, from the
analysis that he gave,
has approached issues, you could see that he knew that this is
that's an evident.
So the country belongs to all of us, and I think that we need to jettison party.
Right.
Yes, at the level of politics, we can play the politics, but once it concerns the interest of this country, the survival of lives in this country, I think that we need to re-examine ourselves.
I hope all those young men have PVCs anyway.
That's your final word, right?
Yes, that's my decision.
Okay.
Well, I think I want to advise reasonable caution, wise restraint. You know, we can get it right. Reasonable caution, wise restraint. Democracy must work, and democracy is working.
All right, that's our program today on Politics Today. We may not have been able to go as far as we'd love to, as far as the issues are, but this is the much we can have on the program. Look forward to a new program coming up on independent television. The road to 2019 is being cooked here, and it will serve you really, really well, bringing all the issues as they unfold on the road to 2019, both local and national. I want to say big thanks to Professor Sadolo for coming.
Thank you very much, and we hope to hear from the Commissioner of Police at those states as per what we have seen on this clip.
All right, Comrade Austin Osakwe, thank you for coming.
God will bless Nigeria. I'm hopeful.
Barrister Washington.
God bless Nigeria.
Hello, Martins.
God will continue to bless them.
Amen. Amen. Well, that's our program today. Big thanks to you for staying with us, for listening to the program, and from every part of the world where you've been part of the show today. We thank you so much. We'll do this again next week, Saturday. Till then, stay blessed, and bye for now.